Welcome to the Turkey Hunter Podcast with me, your host, Andy Galliano. In this podcast, I share with turkey hunters just like you how to have more turkeys on your hunting property and how to have more successful turkey hunts. I teach you how to do this with tips and interviews with turkey hunting pros, wildlife management tips, and entertaining turkey hunting stories. Tune in weekly as I share proven and simple strategies to help you have more success this turkey season. Make sure to head over to www.iamturkeyhunting.com to subscribe to receive free turkey hunting tips, tactics, strategies, and product reviews. Also, please visit and like my Facebook fan page. Go to Facebook and search I Am Turkey Hunting, and also feel free to post your turkey hunting photos from this past season and let us know where and when you killed your bird. For all of you Twitter users out there, please follow me on Twitter, where my handle is @TurkeyHitman, and I will be sure to follow you back. And now, for this week's show. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Turkey Hunter Podcast. You are listening to episode number 137, Help Protect Your Rights to Hunt Public Land. And I am your host and the guy who is currently on vacation with his wife's family. Okay, I'm going to say this one time and one time only. Help me. So I'm going to be quick today, and we are going to get into today's interview. But before I do, I have to let you know that we are 280 days, 12 hours, 19 minutes, and 24 seconds away from opening day of spring turkey season in Alabama. Time keeps on ticking, ticking, ticking. So today I've got an interview with Andrew Maxwell that I want to share with you. And Andrew is one of the founding members of the southeastern chapter of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And they're an organization that is fighting to help keep public land public. Now there's a big kick currently on a federal level to start cutting loose some of the federal lands and turn them back over to states. And the belief is that the states don't have the funds to manage those properties properly. That's a mouthful. Try saying that 2 or 3 times real quick. And because of that, there have been several organizations to form over the past couple of years who are fighting to keep those public lands under federal control and to keep them public so that you and I have access to hunt those lands. So without talking too much about this, because Andrew and I talk about this a good bit in our conversation, I'm going to go ahead and cut into the interview, and I hope you guys enjoy that, and I will see you guys on the other side. Hey guys, I am excited to tell you that I have on the line with me another Andrew. Isn't that exciting? You guys are going to have 2 Andrews to deal with today. And today I have Andrew Maxwell on the line with me. And not only is this another Andrew, but he's also another Alabamian. So you guys are going to get twice the Alabamian and twice the Andrew for the same low, low price today. This Andrew is with Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And that is a new-ish group that has formed, and Andrew reached out to me, it's been a month or so ago, I believe, and wanted to tell me about his organization. We finally hooked up here last week, and we talked for a while about what all they're doing, and I thought this might be a good opportunity for Andrew to come on the show today to share what his organization is doing, because I feel like it may be of interest to a good many of you guys listening to the show. So, Andrew, how are you, and in what part of Alabama are you today?
I'm doing good today. Right now, I'm in my house in Helena, Alabama. I don't think I'm too far from you.
You're not. You're almost a stone's throw away, but I'd have to get a running start to throw one that far. And with the rain that we're getting right now, I don't believe that it's going to make it. Too much interference.
Ruined all my fishing plans, I'll tell you that.
Well, you can still fish in the rain.
That's true, but I wanted to set some limb lines, and I don't know. They get swept away.
Yeah, you're right.
In the river.
You're right. That's a different kind of fishing that I wasn't thinking about, and that would be a little bit more difficult. So, yeah, we've gotten a good bit. I think, and I might be wrong here, but out of the past 10 days, I think at my house there have been or there has been one day that we have not gotten some rain of some sort. So
yeah, it's been the same here, and the river's been way up. And yesterday the bottom popped out, and I don't know what the river's at now, but it's much too high for me to do anything.
Yeah. Well, and so let's talk about one of the things that you and I like to do, and that other than fishing, and that's turkey hunting. So when we were talking earlier this week, I told you I was pretty worried or concerned about what kind of a hatch we may have here in Alabama, given the amount of rain that we've gotten in the month of May. And you gave me some pretty encouraging news. You gave me an update of what you've experienced in the woods. So share that with everybody.
Yeah, I went out, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, or it was probably less than 2 weeks ago, but we went out to the management area over next to Helena and on a little hike, and we ended up seeing, first we got back to one of my main hunting spots, jumped 2 hens, and I think I told you they had 5 or 6 poults each with them.
Yeah.
They all hopped, flew up in the trees, all the poults did, which surprised me. That there's probably 10 of them, 10 or 11. And then on the way out, we bumped another hen, and she had like 7 or 8 poults with her, and they all flew up in a tree. So saw a whole bunch of turkeys that day. That was encouraging.
Absolutely. That's good news to hear that they're flying already. That means that they've got a much better chance of surviving. So that's good news for at least those people who are going to be hunting near that management area or in that management area in a couple of years. That'll be a good thing for us. So hopefully the rest of the state is experiencing the same thing, and we sure could use another year of a good hatch. I think we had a good hatch last year. Hopefully we will have a good hatch and good recruitment this year and can get the turkey population back up in Alabama. So I know a lot of states are suffering out there and could use that as well. So anything that we can do to help that out would be great. So I kind of touched on it a little bit when I talked about hunting that public land, but tell us a little bit about what Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is all about.
Well, the organization was started back in 2004 around a campfire in Oregon. It's basically started as a group of people who wanted to conserve public lands and clean waters around the western states, because out there, the name backcountry comes from out there because they really do have backcountry, wilderness areas like Cloud Peak Wilderness in Wyoming or Frank Church Wilderness in Idaho. And so that organization's been kind of growing and growing with their stuff. They do a lot of boots on the ground conservation. Like one of their main things is preventing illegal ATV use in protected areas, fighting against the state transfer of public lands, stream access. They're fighting for better stream access in some states. Like, for instance, actually, Wyoming this year. I'm actually going to Wyoming this fall on a hunt, and we've been trying to figure out their stream access laws, and it turns out that in Wyoming, you can't touch the stream bed if it's on private land. You can't drop anchor. You can't wade it. You can't stop there. You can't touch it with a boat paddle or anything, or you're trespassing.
Wow.
So that's something that's like one of the issues they work on as kind of an example. I think Arizona and New Mexico have some pretty bad laws too. Alabama's not that bad on our stream access as long as it's like a navigable waterway.
Right.
Which means like you do on it. So the organization started out there with working on stuff like that, and it's just kind of the message resonates with people, and it's been moving eastward. And recently we've established our southeastern chapter, which it's Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, I think Florida, and Tennessee. Might be South Carolina. I don't remember. Forgive me if I forget South Carolina, but we just recently started this. We just got recognized at the BHA Rendezvous as an official chapter, and we've been trying to get things rolling here. And you asked about like some of the issues that like local issues in our state.
Yeah.
I've actually been doing a bunch of research this morning on something with Cahaba, because we're losing acreage off that management area like crazy. And there's some differences in numbers where the Forever Wild acquired land, but we have less land than they acquired a couple of years ago. They acquired like 30,000 acres, and we're down to 26. So I've been looking into that all morning, and turns out we're down to 26,000 acres on Cahaba management area. This year, they're removing a 4,000-acre parcel near Brantleyville. Those are some. I told you the other day, there's some good turkey woods in there too. losing several parks off County Road 13 off of that management area. And Mulpus Timberlands and Valley Creek Timber are two of the companies that own a lot of that land. And they've got a combined, I think, 5,000 acres for sale. They got a 1,000-acre parcel for sale next to the refuge. And so this is all just kind of coming to light. We're trying to figure out solutions for it. And we're losing some stream access here, like for the Cahaba River. There's several boat launches that have actually been shut down recently. So that's kind of limiting people's access to the river. And that's kind of a basic overview of our local problems that we're trying to fight here in Alabama. And they're doing the same things in Georgia and Mississippi and the other state, Tennessee, that are in the southeastern chapter. But we're kind of just getting our feet on the ground.
Yeah. So, you and I had this conversation when we first talked, and this is just me personally. So I don't want to, I guess, think that I'm too set in my ways on this, because I'm actually, I'll just get down to it here. I'm really torn about public land and the government controlling so much of our forest land, timber land, prairie land, everything else. So the reason I'm torn about it is because there are not many things that I have found that the government can do better than individuals can do, or a group of individuals. Now, I've got to give them some credit in that with the right leadership, we've got the best military in the world. They do a great job of protecting us.
Oh, yeah.
Owning land, I don't think, is something that the federal government should really be involved in. However, here's where I'm torn. I'm torn in that you take some of these larger tracts of land out west, and we're talking 1 million plus acres, and if those were available for sale to industry or individuals, there are very few people in this world that could afford to buy that property and keep it as one tract. And at that point in time, if they did acquire that property, I just don't think there's going to be an opportunity for access to those lands by individuals.
Absolutely.
So, we would be cutting back those opportunities for us average hunters and fishermen to be able to get onto those properties to do the things that we enjoy doing, like hunting and fishing or camping or hiking, whatever it happens to be. So, I'm one of those who's torn about that. I just feel like government doesn't do as good a job managing those properties as they could, but they still are one of the few entities around that have pockets deep enough to manage it as well as it could be managed. And then in addition to that, be able to offer us access to get onto that property to do what we want to do or what we enjoy doing. So, that's one of those things when it comes to public land and public land hunting that I'm kind of torn about, and I'm a person who actually does a fair amount of hunting on public land. So,
yeah, absolutely.
I guess really for me, in what you guys are doing in the Southeast, I think is a good thing, because these smaller pieces of property are being pulled out of these wildlife management areas and these state-run public lands, and they're being sold off to individuals. And there are people out there in Alabama who easily can buy 1,000 or 2,000 acres, or, even cut it down smaller than that. They'll buy a couple hundred acres out of 1,000. And so, those public lands in Alabama are becoming smaller and smaller for those reasons. And what's going to end up happening over a period of time is that there's going to be a lot of these smaller pieces of property and fewer larger tracts like we had years ago. And when you go to states like Virginia, and you go Virginia north, and I would say that probably New York State and Pennsylvania may not be the same, but when you get in these smaller northern states, it is extremely unusual to hear of a 1,000-acre tract of land.
Yeah.
That one individual owns. And so, not that you can't kill a turkey on 40 acres, because you certainly can, but it's, I think, a lot, I'm not going to say easier to kill one, but there are more opportunities to kill a turkey on a 1,000-acre contiguous piece of property than there is a 40-acre contiguous piece of property. So,
absolutely.
That's me. That's my personal opinion on it. That's where I kind of stand. But I feel like, for what you guys are trying to do, I feel like it's a good thing, and especially out west where there's so much talk of taking these large tracts of federal land and turning them back over to the states. And a lot of these states just don't have the money to operate what it takes to operate those larger tracts of land and to manage them the way that they need to be managed.
That's absolutely correct. That's the big problem with it is the state will get stuck with the bill for fighting fires, managing the roads, and a lot of states, it would bankrupt them, honestly. Nevada, they've sold off 90% of the state lands that they've held, 90%. So, if the BLM gets transferred to them, you know what's going to happen with it. I understand the distrust and everything in the federal government. I have my own fair share of distrust in the federal government.
Sure. Yeah.
But you were spot on what you said about how they do a great job at running the military, but I think they also do a good job at preserving them, maybe not managing them, which a lot of people argue necessarily BHA, but a lot of people like the idea of federally owned lands with state management. So you have a more local management of the federal lands, and they would do a much better job because the states are great at managing wildlife and land, but they don't have the money.
Right.
And, I think out west, it's somewhere around 74% of all people that hunt, they rely on public lands. So state transfer of those lands would certainly, it would cripple hunting. There's no other way to look at it. It would absolutely cripple hunting out west. And probably here too, because I'm the hunter I am today because of the Cahaba management area, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of the state lands as well, I think Colorado state lands, you cannot hunt on them. So that's immediate loss of hunting rights before they even sold it off. Wyoming state lands, you can't camp on it, and I don't think you can have a campfire either. So whereas on BLM, the federal land, you can camp, you can target shoot, you can hunt, you can do whatever. But not a lot of states, their state lands don't even allow you to hunt or recreate. I forgot what state it was, but one of them, you can't even walk your dog on state lands. You get hit with a trespassing fine. Randy Newberg has a series on YouTube. It's 16 videos of state transfer examples, problems with it, and just the history, like what's happened when they transfer state lands transfer federal lands to the states. And some of the examples are just horrible. Like Nevada selling off 90%. Elliott State Forest in Oregon is like 86,000 acres, I think. That was all going to be chopped up and sold off in a bunch of different parcels, but I think that they got that stopped. I'm not totally sure, but I think that we kind of won that fight. But yeah, like I said, I totally understand your distrust of the federal government, and there's a whole argument you can go into about whether or not it's constitutional, and both sides have their points. It's kind of one of those endless arguments that nobody will ever win. But when it's to the Supreme Court, it's aired on the side of it's constitutional every time. But we face a lot of different problems over here in the East because I don't think Alabama has any BLM land. I don't think Tennessee or anybody else does, matter of fact. The western states were given state land when they became states. And so they've sold most of that off because it's part of their constitution. If they're running a deficit, they have to sell off some of those lands. They have to get rid of them. Right. If they're running a deficit. So like if Wyoming was granted 3 million acres from BLM, and they were granted it, and it was their state land at that point. If they couldn't afford to fight the fires, maintain the roads, and do whatever else they needed to do with it, they would be constitutionally obligated to sell that land off. So that's the big threat with state transfer. That's why it's so bad, and it's a dilemma for a lot of people because it's mainly the GOP that pushes for it, and most of the hunters that I know, most hunters nationally, including myself, are right-leaning. So it's kind of a conflict with the party line, which is okay because it's not a red and a blue issue. This is a hunting and fishing issue.
That's right.
Once you politicize it, you lose you lose your merit for your argument. You don't have an argument anymore. It becomes just like one of these other stalemates in Congress that won't ever have anything done with it because they're against it because they're red and they're against it because they're blue or whatever, and nothing ever gets done because it's just a party thing. But if you can get both sides of the aisle to agree on an issue, it provides some pretty extraordinary results. And they'll listen to you, the state representatives. I'm sure you remember like a month or two ago, they had a bill in our state that would basically require forever wildlands to pay like a lost revenue tax, the property tax that they're not getting from the land that they own. And I think that the state representatives received like upwards of 9,000 phone calls. And so they ditched that one because we raised our voice and they heard us, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So it just takes people getting vocal, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the big things and one of the big pushes for you guys right now, is it not? You're trying to grow membership and doing that by having more members in the group, your voices or collective voice are more easily heard by those in office. So
that's exactly right.
Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing to try to grow at this point. Now you're starting a Southeast chapter, so we know that that's trying to grow that is much different than trying to grow on the national level. But tell us a little bit about both if you have time.
Yeah, absolutely. I got time. Well, locally, we're just trying to like spread the word about our organization. Like I work at a sporting goods store in Birmingham. I've ran into you there before.
Yeah.
And I have a stack of Backcountry journals, which is the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers magazine that you get when you join the group. And so whenever the opportunity arises at work, I'll talk to somebody about it and I'll hand them one of those magazines. And it's amazing how receptive people are. Because coming into it, I didn't think that we wouldn't go anywhere, but I just didn't think that people would be so excited about the group. Pretty much everybody I talked to, or really everybody I've talked to about it, has been excited. They wanted to know more about it. I've had several people message me on Facebook when I mention it in the comment section. I had like 5 people right off the bat message me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they all say the same thing. They're like, man, anything to protect my hunting and fishing. I'm like, absolutely. That's absolutely right. So to grow here, it's just really so far been word of mouth, but we're also trying to plan some events that'll get our name out and raise some money. They're about to do one in Columbus, Georgia on, I think the 9th, but that's this Friday. It's what's called a pint night, and basically we go to a restaurant or a brewery or something, and we have this event where things like the drinks and everything are discounted. Some of the proceeds will go to the group, I believe. They'll do a gear swap where people will come and sell gear real cheap to raise money for the group.
Mm-hmm.
I think somebody's bringing like some really nice paintings or something. I think I saw that on the message board, but there's going to be some nice paintings there. So it's just kind of like a fun event that people can come to get to know more about the group, help raise a little money, and meet, I mean, the most hunting and fishing people you ever meet. I mean, there's a lot of hardcore hunters in the group, that's for sure. We all go public land. We usually got to walk a long ways. There's some people that get down with it in the group.
Yeah.
We also do things like wild game cook-offs. It's basically just what it sounds like. We all get together, cook wild game. We're trying to plan something for the Birmingham area. We haven't really got anything started yet, but we're working on it. But I think they did a pint night in Nashville I think it was back in February. And they got Randy Newberg to come to it. He's big on the Sportsman channel. And that sounded like a lot of fun. But I couldn't go up to that because I was going to the NWTF convention the very next weekend.
Yeah.
Couldn't make 2 trips, sadly. But they're doing that in Columbus, Georgia on Friday, and anybody can show up to it, and it'll be fun. So I hope that a lot of people show up. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to work, so I'm not going to be able to make it, but we'll do one in Birmingham pretty soon and hopefully host some other events like that. Another thing we want to do in the future is maybe get some like large garbage dumps and put them out on the WMA, like a big garbage can where people can throw stuff. Because you know probably as good as I do that there's a lot of people that like to disrespect the land and they litter, and there's garbage piles like you would not believe in some places. So hopefully we get that done, and we'll have a big BHA logo on it, and hopefully that'll spread the word about us. The national organization's grown a lot through social media, especially in the last couple months. I think when it was Jason Chaffetz from Utah introduced a bill that would hand over 3 million acres, I think it was, of federal land to the state, and that just blew up in his face. People went nuts on social media about it, so we probably got a good bit of exposure that way.
Yeah, and that's good. What can we do if we're interested in joining, whether it's the Southeastern chapter or the national chapter? Where can we go to get more information on that and to join if we're interested in joining?
You can go to backcountryhunters.com. That's the website to join the organization. Or you could just Google search Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. We have a Facebook group as well for the Southeastern Formation chapter. And if somebody's got questions about it, you can actually email me, aloutdoors8@gmail.com. And I'll be happy to tell you more about it and tell you how you could help out or how you could volunteer or anything like that. We're looking for people who really want to work to help us kind of kick this thing off, but we also just need people to join, and you can Google search us and see what we're all about, or you could email me, like I said, and I'll be happy to tell you about it. You can get on the Facebook page, or there's a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. They got a lot of videos on YouTube about what they're all about. So that was backcountryhunters.com is the website for Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And you got to be careful not to say BHA because everybody will think you're talking about bow hunters of Alabama.
Okay.
So backcountryhunters.org, not .com, I'm sorry, .org. And that's where you can go to join or donate, learn more about the group. When you join, you'll get a magazine subscription. And also they're running a big giveaway right now that you can learn more about it on the website. They're doing a huge fishing gear giveaway with a ridiculous amount of prizes, so people might be interested in that as well. But like I said, you can also email me. Don't be afraid to email me at aloutdoors8@gmail.com.
All right. Very good. Very good. Yeah. I think, getting the word out, especially here in the Southeast with it being a new organization to the area, getting the word out's going to be key, obviously, in growing the thing and helping to get those numbers up to where people on the state level, the politicians on the state level will listen, and on the federal level as well. So anyway, I think that's a good thing, and I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come on and tell us a little bit about the organization and where we can get more information on it. And
no problem at all. No problem at all. And the sooner we get on it, the better. Our state has lost 143,000 acres of leased public hunting land, like the wildlife management area system. We've lost 143,000 acres in the last 20 years. And just as an example, Cahaba, when I started hunting it 5 or 6 years ago, it was right at 39,000 acres, right at 40,000 acres. And after this year, we could potentially be all the way down to 20,000, and it's just going to keep getting smaller.
Yeah, and Coosa Wildlife Management Area is the same way. I think it was, 10 years ago was about 40,000 acres, and now I think they're down to about 10,000 acres.
That's exactly right. So a lot of it's forever wildland, but the forever wildland's not as secure as people think it is. So we need to think of some new solutions because they're yanking it out from under us every year. Yep. And if we're not careful, it'll all be gone one day. And that'll be a lot of people in the future who aren't introduced to hunting, who don't have a way to go hunting, because that's the number one reason that people drop hunting is because they don't have a place to hunt.
That's right.
So we definitely need to protect what we got so we can look back on it and be proud of what we did.
Yeah, very good. Andrew, thank you again for coming on to share all this with us today, and I hope that you guys listening will at least take the time to go to the website, check the organization out, and make a decision from there about whether it's something you want to support or not. Personally, I think I'm getting on board. I've just got to get over my little hang-up there, but again, it's all about access, just like Andrew said, and, the public land does provide us with access. Whether they do as great a job managing that land as you or I could do individually if we had the same funds, the answer is no. But if I had that land individually, I could tell you it would be my turkey hunting land. The only way you'd get on it is if you were hunting with me. So that limits your access. That's a bad thing. So if you hunt public land and you're interested in keeping that public land open or getting better access to that public land, do go check out Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. And have a great day, Andrew. Hopefully I will see you at your establishment where you are employed here sometime soon, but that usually means I've got to spend money, so that's not necessarily a good thing for me, but it's a good thing for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I greatly appreciate you letting me come on and talk about this. Keep doing what you're doing, man. I love the podcast.
Thank you much. I appreciate that. I appreciate you reaching out to me in the spring as well, and it was great to meet you over there, and look forward to seeing you over there sometime again very soon.
Absolutely.
All right, buddy. Have a great day.
All right, man. You too.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, so that's all that I've got for you for today's free portion of the show. If you want to hear the remainder of this week's show, I've got a special interview with a regular on the show, and we're going to be talking about his 2017 turkey hunting season. kind of a little recap of that, and we're going to try to pick up another tip or two from him while we've got him on the show. That's what you're missing out on this week. If you want to hear that, all you have to do is subscribe to the show. Subscribing costs $12 per year, and you can do it by texting the word Turkey Hunter. Make it one word, Turkey Hunter with no spaces. Text that to the number 44222. From there, I'm going to text you back and ask you to reply with only your email address. Once you reply with only your email address, I'm going to email you a direct link that you can click on, and at that point you can create a username and a password and pay the $12 fee to subscribe to the show, and you'll be a subscriber who has access to all of the premium content that we're doing for the next 52 weeks, as well as that we've done in the past. And you can access that content through the Podbean app on your mobile device. So, that's all that I've got for you guys this week, but I want to ask you a favor before I cut you loose. My favor this week is this. If you know of someone who hunts public land that you think will benefit from hearing today's episode and learning more about Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, then I'm asking you to forward this episode to them. You can do that by either sharing the link to today's show through the share feature in your podcast player app, or you can retweet the tweet that I sent out about today's episode, or you can forward today's post on Facebook. So that's it. That's all that I've got for you guys this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. I know that you have choices. I appreciate you spending your time with us. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Goodbye. Thanks for tuning in. You were just listening to the Turkey Hunter podcast. If you enjoyed the show, please go on over to iTunes and leave a 5-star review. And make sure to head over to www.iamturkeyhunting.com to subscribe for free turkey hunting tips, tactics, strategies, and product reviews to help you have a more successful turkey season. And stay tuned for upcoming episodes on hunting afternoon birds, how to film your hunt, and the breeding cycle of hens, as well as some guest interviews. Thanks again for listening. We know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you sharing some of it with us. See you next week.